morning, Soulfire Group. This is Mollie Lama, coming to you from a different location. I'm on a pet sit, and I gathered things as I left the other day to come here. I didn't bring my drum, and it's just a few things that aren't my usual. So I was thinking of how can I make that part of the fun and the challenge. So we are in a new location with different items. Instead of drumming today, one of the things I learned is you can use anything as a rattle. Good morning, Kelly. If you want to put something in there, I'm happy to explore. I've got some ideas of what I want to share today, but I'm happy to explore what you've got going on today. So, again, I'm not in my usual location, and I didn't bring my drum, and I'm going to use a rattle, and I want to encourage you to just stop. Take a few breaths. Just if you need to wiggle a little, if you need to sigh, do that. You'll feel better. We're just going to lighten everything up. Shift the energies. Whatever's going on around you. And I'm just going to intend the rattle around you, drum around you to change the frequencies. Deep breaths in and out. Ooh, you can tone with me to transmute energies. Toning. Again, some big sighs on the way out. You might raise your arms and then drop them. Oh, I grabbed my vitamin D because, we all need a lot of vitamin D. And C, iodine, and K. Anyway, just using that as my rattle today. And I want to encourage you to just realize everything's available wherever you are. Just whatever's necessary for you. Whoa. Okay. So now just receive that. Let that settle. Watch, feel, observe. And I want to just encourage you to explore the idea of like coming into alignment energetically. And another theme that's up lately for a week, 2 weeks now is the word integration. And so just like for this moment in time, just for me, sometimes it feels like this. Everything just gets like, so let's just explore what I'm going to do some toning while you just come to that place. You're welcome to tone also. And a lot of focus on the heart center, okay? Like I said, I find it helpful to tone to get that alignment energy going. So, and the deeper tones sometimes feel this, like they do more like, oh. With that said, the E, it raises the energy, but you can decide what it feels right. Just observe what it feels like for you. Does that bring energies together? Does the deeper tones, just play with it. That's the whole thing, is observing what it is for you. So, one of the things I wanted to bring up was the goddess Durga. I do a new moon circle once a month at the new moon, and used to be in person for a year ago. And it was interesting how we were talking about all the different anniversaries last night of what was happening, and I called it other energies, and some of them were anniversaries. The pandemic isolation was pretty much started a year ago. There's also the anniversary of Breonna Taylor's death, being in Louisville. That's significant. I mean, I haven't even been downtown and I did one event, a prayer vigil for her. So it's just in the field. So that's a year ago. And all the police and politics since then still going. And then 2 other people on the call had year anniversaries where they started new jobs. So that was an interesting thing. And there was another year. I'm trying to think now. What was that? Well, we started doing those not in person, the new moons on Zoom. So that's a different thing. I liked the interaction we used to do in person, and we would dance or movement or some art and all that. So that was a little different. Good morning, Gail. So that's, the year. So part of the theme here, the idea of integration is we are now in what might be seen as, is being referred to as third quarter syndrome. And because we have the vaccine now, we can say, oh, we're getting close to the end, right? And before there was like, oh, it's only going to be a month. It's going to be this. Wow. As we all know. And so we're not even sure for sure, but we're thinking because of the vaccine, we're getting close. So the third quarter syndrome is when people just start getting antsy, no matter what you're involved in. When I looked that up, they had people that go to Antarctica and people that go to space. And no matter how long or how short, at about 3/4 of the way through, people start spiking their frustrations and their challenges and acting out in a different way and acting differently to the people they're with in the isolation. So just watching and observing your own third quarter syndrome that might be happening, and just having that kindness and compassion for yourself and everybody else, because they're also in this third quarter syndrome kind of a thing. And it's nice to have those words. I don't know about you, but for me it helps to have the words, because you're feeling something, and until it's named, it's just kind of floating out there, and you're like, what is this? What is this? Oh, and now I can recognize how it's showing up and what it is. So that's helpful. Hope it's helpful for you. So the thing is, we also bring in the new moon circles, a goddess. And last night, the goddess Durga was what came as the goddess to engage, invite, and ask for help and support with it. There's a lot of really cool things about her. Let's see. I'm going to read from this. She's a protector of all that is good and harmonious in the world. That's one of the things, and that's one of the things I really wanted to focus on. And so calling in that energy, Goddess Durga, we can invite her into our lives and help us as we protect all that is good and harmonious in the world. And when you focus on all that's good and harmonious, you're going to co-create more of that. You're going to see it. You're going to be a part of it. You're going to, it's like all of a sudden you're thinking about buying a certain car and you just see that car everywhere, right? And so that's what I want to invite you to do. All things good and harmonious in the world. So then it's really interesting because they, let's see. Her name means a fort or a place that is difficult to overrun. And so that's a really cool idea. When you're a kid and stuff and you build your fort, it's like, I remember as kids, we did that a lot, inside and outside. And one, it's so funny, the first thing that comes to mind is an inside one, not an outside one. Under the big dining table, there was big legs and it was 4 corners, and we would go in and there would be, what do you call it? Just different wood scroll work. And there were these holes about yay big, and we were little, we put our arms through and it was like, I don't know that it was a fort, but we were being held captive. So much for protection, but it was close and it was small, and it was private under there. So that was an interesting thing that just popped into my mind. So another thing that she's known for is one who eliminates suffering. again, wow, eliminate suffering. That's like a big deal. And I don't know about you, but most of the suffering comes from in here. All of this noise, instead of the actual world and what's happening and who. And again, if we focus on all that's good and harmonious, yeah, the suffering's going to resolve, or we won't see it as much. And I don't know, sometimes if you don't see something, I don't think it exists. That's a parallel world. I know I live in parallel worlds to a lot of the planet and what's happening, so I'm okay with that. So then they go on to talk about her having these different forms, and there's names for all of them, and multiple incarnations. They use both those words in different paragraphs here about her. And I just feel like we all have our own different names and forms and labels and roles we play. And again, the theme back to integration. How do we integrate? And oh, I think I know what I was trying to say earlier is the idea of integration. We've been in this year, of isolation, some form of it. And we see we're at third quarter and we're going to come back out into the world soon enough. It's like, so what have you learned in this process? Who are you now? What have you learned about other people and other processes and ways of doing things that you're going to integrate as you move forward? And I'll say a certain amount of I don't know, and that's okay, because that way you're in the moment and you're available to what shows up. And I also know some experience that I had with some different people that's been more challenging, and how to, once we start to see each other more again, how to be with that and how to address that. And that feels like a significant one, and not to just put it under the rug, so to speak, and keep going. So that integration. And let's go back to Goddess Durga and ask her help for all things good and harmonious and eliminating suffering. Let's see. So there's a couple places in here where they talk about basically threes. Growing up Catholic, I never saw it this way until later, and I see how other people do it. We have the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Other the gods for the Hindus, I think, is it, there's the creator, there's the maintainer, and there's the destroyer. And that's an interesting thing. Creator, maintainer, and destroyer. They all have to be happening all the time. Something just doesn't get created and exist without a maintainer. And then to create something new, you always have to destroy something else. So that's another three-part thing. And then here in two different places, they talk about three things. She has three eyes. Her left eye represents desire, and it's symbolized by the moon. Her right eye represents action, symbolized by the sun, and her middle eye stands for knowledge, symbolized by fire. So I thought that was pretty cool. Very cool. And then the other three thing, she has many limbs, hands and stuff, and they have a whole list of things she's holding, and some versions she has 8 limbs, and some she has like up to 18. So, and this one she's holding the trident, the 3-pronged fork, shovel, and fork, I guess. It's a symbol for 3 qualities, and the words in Sanskrit are sattva, raja, and tama. And sattva is inactivity, rajas is activity, and tamas is non-activity. And we looked that up last night in the middle of the new moon thing, and it was like, how are inactivity and non-activity different? Well, inactivity is what they saw as like the spiritual holding space and presence and maybe a meditation, that kind of a thing. Non-activity was more of a dullard thing. We drink or we watch TV or we do something that's just like a non-activity. So not engaged in the same way, and versus inactivity where you're in it. Maybe that's how I can remember that. Not that I need to. Anyway, she uses these to alleviate physical, mental, and spiritual suffering. Again, a suffering thing. And then, for those of you who hear me toning and all that, so the first thing they mention in her weaponry and the things that she's carrying is the conch shell, and it symbolizes what they say the pranava, or the mystic word Om, which indicates her holding on to God in the form of sound. Om. Holding on to God in the form of sound. You don't like the word God, the divine, the universe, the creator. So I thought that was a really interesting thing in how to do sound. So let's just take a moment, recognizing Goddess Durga and calling in her powers of focusing on good and harmony, eliminating suffering, and just going to do 3 ohms. Please join me. Oh, what we're doing here is we're awakening that energy within you. Yeah. Oh, before I do that, I do want to read the last part I want to read is she's symbolized by riding a tiger or a lion, and she's standing atop it or she's just riding it. And this represents power, will, and determination. And it symbolizes mastery over all these qualities. Mastery over power. I'm going to call it self-power. Mastery over will, self-will. Mastery over determination. And her bold pose means freedom from fear. Yeah, let's call that in. Freedom from fear. So while we're calling in Goddess Durga energy with the Om and our connection to holding on to God and the divine. Let yourself stay there if you've got your eyes closed. Just sit with Goddess Durga, the qualities, integrating all of that into your being and into your day and into this time of transition, 3rd quarter, as well as transition from winter to spring. We're right there on the cusp. Transition from winter. I mean, we do a lot of isolating in the winter, and into spring where we start engaging in the world and engaging with our neighbors and engaging more with the earth and the sun. I already took a really nice long walk yesterday and just enjoying, even though it's chilly, there's a certain knowing and there's a certain feeling that this is a change time. And that wakes up something in me. Change wakes up something in me. I don't know about y'all, but I'm all about like, oh, new, change, different. And so we go back to the gods and the goddess, the creator, maintainer, and destroyer. And then we also have people talk about different qualities where somebody's really good at the brainstorming, and somebody's good about the implementation, somebody's good about this, and understanding where you are and what your qualities are. And because I know I've gotten frustrated at times, and I've seen other people like, why can't I get this or do this or whatever? And it's like, wow, your strength is over here. See if you can invite somebody in to do that other thing, hold that space for that other thing, and or be a model for you to learn that other thing. And just know what your strengths are and play to your strengths. And that I'm really good at projects, the long-term stuff, the maintenance. I'm good at destroying things, I think. Like, let's get this is time to go. It's time for something new. So that can be challenging in how I live in the world a lot of times, and what's expected. I'm self-employed and all that, and so I tend to do it all myself for the most part. And I guess the idea would, in terms of integration, would be to learn what my strengths are. I kind of know them, and invite in somebody else's energy, and or call like Goddess Durga or another goddess or a deva to help me through that, and or help me find somebody who I'm ready to invite in to help with that. That's so interesting as I say this, because none of this is like too pre-planned, that how many forms she had and the different incarnations. And it's like, how to invite that into yourself, into myself, another form. And it's like changing a costume and going, okay, if I were, think of somebody who's good at the thing that you're most challenged by. What would that look like? What would that sound like? How could I do this? And tap into that. It's like I know all these things. You know all these things. It's the remembering to do. And I hope the Sunday morning reset helps you remember who you are and what is possible. And I'm hearing remembering who you are not. So whatever that means for you, and who you are and who you are not. So that idea of those qualities that you may not have mastered. Not letting yourself get too frustrated or beat yourself up about that, because it's maybe not really available to you. So yeah, that. So the other thing I wanted to do, we have a few more minutes, is I said I'm in a different space, and the idea of like everything's always available right where you are. And I think I've talked about bibliomancy before, where you just grab anything, and book, magazine, dictionary, and you come up with your thought or your question, like an oracle deck, and you can use anything. So today I just grabbed this book off the shelf from where I am. First of all, I like the title because I'm all about breaking the rules. And, well, I shouldn't say it that way. I'm not a rule follower. I'm a creator. I'm a, brainstormer. Like, go outside the lines. I am like, go color way out there, or think it up. And then if you think it up way out there, then you can come back, if that's a word, modify to make it a realistic thing. Wow. So it's interesting. What's popping into my mind is the idea of fashion shows. They wear the craziest things, right? Those fashion show things. Like, how practical, how realistic. Well, they go way out there, And then there's a modification for the rest of us to wear it, use it, and that kind of thing. Anyway, I can own that. So I want to sit first with like the question, the question. So we're talking about integrating, and that's that guidance on integrating, whatever that means for you, for me. And now I'm just going to open this book. Okay, so we're at 198 and 199. Sometimes it's fun to look at the numbers. The chapter, the fourth key, find the right fit. Find the right fit. Integration. You can't put a key in a lock and expect it to turn if it's not the right one. So I feel like this is speaking to knowing your strengths and knowing what you can do and what you can't do, what you're good at, who to call on, the other person who's a good fit. Let's see. Oh, this is great. When someone joins the team, I tell him that one of our major goals is working together is to help him figure out who he is. I tell him to look in the mirror. And if he doesn't know how to do that, I tell him to use the Sunday night blues test. Well, we're doing the Sunday morning reset, okay? If he doesn't feel that little stab of depression on Sunday night, if he actually finds himself looking forward to the week, then he should stop and ask himself why. What is it about the role that he loves so much? Whatever he answers, he should scribble it down and make sure that he keeps it in mind when he chooses another role. If he does feel those Sunday night blues coming on every weekend, then it's not necessarily his fault. It's not some failing in him, but he does need to ask the same question, why? What does he need that his current role is not giving him? Again, he should bear his answer in mind as he looks for other places to work. Wow. Finding the fit. Integration. Owning all of who you are. Asking why you feel a certain way at different times, or when a different project comes up, or when you have to work with a different person. I like that. Tell him that one of our major goals in working together is to help, I'm going to say her, figure out who she is. Look in the mirror. So let's just take a moment here. A sense of looking in the mirror, finding the qualities that you're good at, owning that. And I want to go back to Goddess Durga. Look for all that is good and harmonious within you. All that is good and harmonious within you. And build on that. Let that be your foundation, and you can build up from there. And when you find that in yourself, and when you're comfortable with that in yourself, that's when you can be the mirror for others and see all that's good and harmonious in others and increase that. Yeah. That eliminates suffering. It's like, which way do you want to come at it, right? Come at it by saying eliminating suffering, or coming at it by increasing good, all that's good and harmonious. Yes. So I'm going to close with the metta prayer like we always do, or we've been doing lately. I invite you to say it with me. I'm going to do it 3 times. Just sink in with it, flow with it. May I be at peace. May my heart remain open. May I awaken to the light of my own true nature. May I be healed. May I be a source of healing for all. May I be at peace. May my heart remain open. May I awaken to the light of my own true nature. May I be healed. May I be a source of healing for all. May I be at peace. May my heart remain open. May I awaken to the light of my own true nature. May I be healed. May I be a source of healing for all. Aho. Thank you for joining me. I'll write up some notes and put them on the site along with the links for sending love offering. Thank you so much.